Shooting the shelf.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Shooting the Shelf, right here on Just Shelve It with myself, Jesse Arnold, and Curtis Ackerman. How are you doing tonight, Curtis?
Doing excellent. Season 3, episode 3.
And man, I'm partial because it's our show, but man, that is probably my favorite thing Jeremy has ever created for the intro song.
Yeah, Jeremy DeWitt is amazing. So if anybody out there needs a theme song for your show, hit up Jeremy DeWitt. That guy is talented.
Yes. Yeah,
So.
I love it. It's got vibes of, it gives me like 90 vibes and like a little bit of Mystery Science Theater 3000, like the opening to that. And
yeah, I kind of feel like 80s sitcom is what I get from
a little
it.
bit of that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like two guys met and got on the internet, you know. Anyway.
Well, we are also streaming to the Cabal for the first time for Shooting the Shelf. Obviously, we've got a pretty big guest here we're going to bring on in just a second. But so welcome to the Cabal for the first time. If you haven't seen our show, this is Shooting the Shelf. We're on Sunday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern. And, it's on the Just Shelve It channel on YouTube. And, hope you enjoy if you're checking us out for the first time. Do see a lot of folks in the comments. Try to give it a real quick scroll through. We've got Dave Orkin, Wholesome Warlock, Michael Casper, Van Johnson. I am TJ Williams, Dave Bennett, member of the channel Kirby Smith, Tanya McCoy, got Carver Customs out there, Hank Shaw, Kevin Maboots, Cloud is there, got David Williams, Darla Ackerman. Hey, I know her. Matt Stein, Steve O'Beg, T. Bellet, Joe Gonzalez, first member of the channel, Kevin McCoy. So we got both the McCoys. We got Kent Pool Collects, Captain Firebeard Baker, RM Radcliffe. We've got Greg Finstead, Stacy Lynn. So we got both the Lynns, both the McCoys. It's a family affair. We got Justin, Rob Zamora, Dan. Sig is out there. Mark Rivera, Patrick Boyle, Chris Ferrone, Greg, formerly of the Brute Scale.
Oh my God.
Chris Durant, JL Shaw, Nate Strong, Anthony Halcyon, Laura, and some others. Trevor Williams, Rosedale, and we've already got our first super chat. Rob Zamora, Jesse, can you do your hair up like Curtis?
I don't have a rubber band nearby. Sorry, or hair tie rather.
All right. Well, the chat is popping. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry. We'll try to get to you as we go. If you're joining us on Facebook in the Cabal, make sure that you hit the little approval thing through StreamYard to approve your Facebook comments so we can see who your name is. Otherwise, it comes up like Facebook user, such as this. So just
hello.
FYI. So.
And it looks like we got a new member, Wholesome Warlock.
Yeah. Purple Gang.
All righty, there we go.
Beautiful.
All right.
So who we got with us tonight?
Well, tonight we've got someone, and what are you calling it? I don't know. I was going to make a joke, but it feels like a joke you would make, and I'm not going to do it as well. So we have one of the Four Horsemen Studios' very own brain behind the lines that both Curtis and I and many of you in the chat love, of Mythic Legions, Cosmic Legions, Figura Obscura, and many things before and since. Please give a round of applause, a digital welcome of warmth to the one and only Eric Treadaway. I told you. I got it right last week. I'll never get it right again.
How's it going, Eric?
What's up, guys?
Not a whole lot. Appreciate you joining us on a Sunday night. A lot of people here. We've got some questions from them and some cool stuff to talk about. We're going to have some fun. Sound good?
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Yeah, sorry I left you guys hanging last week.
That's okay.
Not a problem.
Happy to be here now.
Yeah, we're totally over the moon to have you. We were talking about it. We had Cornboy on last year, kind of to start the season. Have you on this year to start the season, We just need Jim on the beginning of next season, and we'll complete the trifecta. So
Nice.
Awesome.
All right. Well, here at the top of the show, we do our shelf selections. So feel free to jump in. We're going to pull up some photos from Instagram, stuff we saw this week, and just chat about a couple of things.
Cool.
All right, here we go. First one is my selection, and it's our very own Captain Firebeard Baker, who is in the chat. Did this amazing photo with Snag, and he has snagged everything, man. He's got every weapon from inside the castle that he's taken out of there. So I just thought this was just based on the bio and who this character is, I just thought this is a really creative photo, just to kind of have him with that satchel on his back, kind of carrying everything out. So
yeah, I don't know how he's sneaking away. He must have like Pass Without a Trace or something. Some D&D feats going on there. Yeah, this is great. Elijah's always killing it with his pictures, and he's coming to us from the UK. So thanks for staying up late with us tonight, Elijah.
Absolutely. Eric, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of fun to see. Even like when we were back creating that character, we had so much less tooling at the time to pull from. So we were just trying to find, random items to put with that figure to play out that idea that, he is just stealing everything in sight. So this is just next level of that concept, which is really cool to see. It just, it just adds to the kind of the comical nature of the goblins. That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Next one is Jesse's selection.
So this is from Visual Approach Photo. I mean, how can you go wrong with some awesome, Mando taking out stormtroopers photos? This is just cool. I don't know if this one had behind the scenes or not, but that's just a cool. I don't know. I feel like that's an actual physical diorama of some sort, and it just the blast with the stormtrooper like falling back, mid explosion on the helmet and everything, just feels like something right out of the show. So
yeah, it looks like a screenshot.
Yeah. I actually had another shot from Visual Approach Photo that I was considering putting in my top, and then I saw this one from your selections. I was like, oh, I even like that better. so yeah, it's a good shot. I like the little added, this like the blaster coming off the stormtrooper's head, and he's flailing backwards, and that's just really cool. Good setup, good shot.
Yeah, it's like that trooper was like running up, and he just got taken out, and the momentum just sending him backwards. Yeah, good stuff.
All right, next one. This one is my pick. This is from Toy Immersion. This is using a couple Mafex figures, which Jesse, I love my Mafex, and you've got the Hush Batman there, and he's taking some damage from Cyborg Superman, I'd say. So I thought it was a cool setup. Obviously the Photoshop added to it, and I don't know. I just thought this was really neat when I looked at it.
Yeah, man, that's definitely telling a story right there, and I don't want to be in that story.
Yeah, it's a little brutal.
Yeah, that's with the Photoshop work on that. That's a nice balance between the photography and the Photoshop to where it looks like an illustration, as much as a photo. Like it's a nice effect.
Yeah, it's very
cool.
It's
really cohesive. Pulling it all together.
And the next one is Jesse's. Hey, I
so
know this guy.
This is the one and only Steve O'Beg, Hooligan Collectibles. It's a custom of. It looks like a custom of Steve-O himself. I just thought this was a lot of fun. Seeing this week, it just popped up. I didn't even see his name, like the account name. I just saw that as like, oh, this has got to be Steve-O. I'm grabbing this one. It's just so fun.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely looks like him. I mean, you see this picture, and if you know Steve-O, you just look at it and you go, "Oh, it's Steve-O."
Yeah.
So not sure where the head came from. Maybe I see he's in the chat. Maybe he'll throw that in there. But yeah, it came out great. It's one of those where it's got the armored arms and, and just the bare torso. It just makes me chuckle a little bit. But yeah, it's cool. I like it. So
yeah, the hat, the cigarette, the sideburns, yeah, just a lot of fun.
So Eric, did you ever think when you started Mythic Legions that you'd have fans putting themselves into the line and making themselves out of your characters?
No. No, I a little popping and swapping maybe, but
Yeah.
no, not to this level.
Well, there you go. We just need some cigarette knights and stuff like that, barbarians.
And yeah, Dorkler, that's 100%. That's why we try to include the graphics on there and everything. So if any of this stuff jumps out at you folks watching, go over to Instagram and give them a like and follow, and we'll do a follow-up post usually on Monday with all of them tagged, if I'm allowed to tag them.
Yeah, and this one is hooligan_collectibles on Instagram. Next one is mine, and it's David Williams, and that's the account name too. It's David Williams. Did this amazing Battle Beast custom. I love Battle Beast. It's one of my favorite lines growing up. I wish that Four Horsemen would be able to do Battle Beast. Hint, hint, Eric. But David did a fantastic job here. I know he worked with Headhunter Customs to create that chest logo, where he's got like a fire and a water and a wood one that's available, and it just came out fantastic. You can see in front there the original figure that was the inspiration for it, and just a good mix of mythic and cosmic parts together to create this character. So yeah, just. David Williams always does fantastic stuff, and this one might be my favorite that he's done.
Yeah, David's been killing it lately on these customs. This is it's another cool one. And one thing that strikes me looking at this is just when it pops up on screen, that says a lot about how well designed Battle Beasts were.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what that was the second it was up there. Like it's not, it's not shaped the same. Like it's parts that are different, but as soon as it came up, like it's just, it. And
yeah.
So that's, I don't know. It's cool to see that, just that, like that instant recognition. But really cool custom, very creative use of parts and just reinterpretation. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love, the additions that you guys have made, especially the last couple of years, to the parts library. And then the addition of Cosmic Legion, of course, that just a whole new line of parts has made it to where some of these customizers are just having some really interesting ideas. Like they look at these parts and they're like, oh, if I mix this and that, I can make this thing. And some of these tributes, that like Emil and David and, them have come up with. Nate Armstrong did a whole bunch of Disney ones. It's phenomenal, but it really all boils back to, what you guys have done with the added parts for sure.
Yeah. And if I can throw in, like, I love David is one that every time I see a custom of his, like I have to like really think about the fact that that's not what those parts were originally meant to be.
Yeah.
Like it's done in such a way, the little bit of sculpting he did to the the Jagualian head, to give that little piece of armor up there, and the different tweaks, like it's just, this is always supposed to be this character.
I like the blaster that's attached to the pauldron up there to make that little yeah. So great job, David. Next one is from Jesse.
So this is from Legends Collector. Definitely go check this out. Sorry, Legends Collector 1321 or 1321. I believe this was originally mostly a I don't know if it was a Mafex or a Mezco Kong. I think it's Mafex Kong, Skull Island Kong with different parts. I don't know if it was from the NECA Maurice from the more recent Planet of the Apes, but it was not just a straight Maurice figure. It was customized and detailed and repainted. I just thought it was really cool. And he had other pictures posed with some of the new, I don't know if it's the new Playmate stuff coming out for the Kong X Godzilla that's coming out later this year. But I just thought, I think orangutans are amazing creatures, and I just thought that custom was really, really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. I love the face on there. I hadn't seen that before, so I didn't know the original figure that came from, but that is a great sculpt on there. And even just the pose on this, just how he's got him sitting kind of in a relaxed pose, and yeah, that's really cool. I like that a lot. So
yeah, definitely cool. I looking at that initially, I didn't realize that was a custom, so that's really cool. That face is really nice.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I'd have to go back and find the post, and my computer's being weird. I can't pull up the details, but yeah, it's definitely part NECA, part something else Kong, and mashed together. So yeah, because I don't think the NECA ones were not as articulated as this. Like it didn't have as big a range of movement, I don't think.
Gotcha. Next one is my pick. This is from Toy Realms on Instagram. And there's nothing like super fancy about the setup of this. It's just some standard stormtroopers kind of in a line if you look at the behind the scenes thing. But I just love the way that this shot is framed, and kind of the dirty griminess of the stormtroopers, to where they don't look, like fresh armor. They've actually been like through battle and stuff. And so this is more of a, in my opinion, amazing photo rather than it is, any sort of, awesome toy or setup. I just think it's just a beautiful shot, and the way that it's lit and framed is just really cool.
Were these Black Series?
I believe so. Yeah.
It's this shot, it looks like, as much as that other one, with the stormtroopers, looked like a freeze frame or something, like this literally looks like a production still from that you would see on like Entertainment Weekly or something coming out for the next Star Wars movie. Like those don't look like toys.
No,
this looks like like straight out of a teaser trailer, like one of those 30-second where it's just the montage with a little music. Ominous looking shot. Yeah, that's cool.
Speaking of great photography, Trevor Williams with a $1.99 super chat. Smush that like, and don't ask about a dragon. So we know Trevor's not necessarily needing a dragon in his life, he says. So and then we've got another one from G out there. Says, I'm here to ask about a dragon. $1.99 super chat. So a little back and forth with that. And I know there's a lot of comments out there. We'll try to catch the ones that we can, but there's a lot of you folks out there throwing stuff out there. So just bear with us on this. And last shooting the shelf selection goes to Jesse. Here we go.
Oh man, this is Martin Max Smith _11. This is, of course, the surprise hit from Legion's Con, the Valiant Knight, with the repainted female head from the Heads pack from All Stars 5+, and I can't believe I didn't think to try that. And yeah, that's why this one caught my attention, because it looks like, not bulky armor, but it looks. I just with that head, I don't know. I really like it. It really struck me, and that's why I grabbed it. So, nice job, Martin Max Smith.
Yeah, I mean this Valiant Knight. I mean, what can we say about? It's just it obviously made a huge splash at Legion's Con. It's been sitting on my desk. I'll show you. This is the current pose that he's in on my desk for my wife. Like it's like the total desk figure. Like it isn't, since we got home from Legion's Con, it hasn't left the desk, because we just constantly keep posing it and putting it in different poses. But you can do so much with it. And this is awesome. Yeah. It does have a little bit of a smaller frame, like not super small it is a 1.0, but it's a little bit slimmer for a 1.0. So throwing that female head on it doesn't look too bad as far as proportions. Like it looks like it works out pretty well. So yeah, this is really nice. And that female, getting that female head in the heads pack was a nice little addition to that heads pack for sure. And the paint job on it is fantastic. So yeah, great work.
Yeah, it was cool for us when people started opening up that figure at Legions Con. I had actually forgotten about the fact that we put the neck converter piece in there. Mm-hmm. And so a couple people started showing me how people were putting the 2.0 heads on it, and just how quickly that folks jumped on it, and how excited people were about that aspect of it. So it was, it was cool for us because it was, we knew people would be excited about certain parts of it, but that like a little bit like that generated as much buzz as it did. It's always, that's a fun part of it. Seeing things like this that work so well. It's just, I don't know, for us to see those reinterpretations, and just, we can't say enough how cool it is just to see what people come up with.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously Mythic Legions have always looked amazing. The aesthetic of the line is awesome, and I think that's why you see so much great photography with it, because they do pop to where it looks like something out of a movie or something like that. Because you don't like you look at this figure right here, you don't see the different articulation points. The layered armor covers a lot of those areas to where it doesn't look like a toy. It looks more realistic than a toy. But then, with this figure, adding that extra articulation with it as well, to where you can, come up with some crazy poses. Like, Jesse knows that I really went into a kind of a Mafex rabbit hole last year because I just love the articulation of them. And this is very similar. Like, you get this thing in your hand and you just don't want to put it down. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's the one figure that that and the Cosmic Wall Tour, like I can't work them into my shelf. Like, I need to have them nearby to play with.
Yeah.
When I'm at the desk. So yeah, it's crazy. I can't wait to see what else all the new sculpts and things you guys are doing with Necronominus and beyond is going to bring to us.
So that was Martin Mac Smith _11 on Instagram. If you like we said before, if you saw any of those that you liked, make sure you give those guys a follow and like on their photos. And if you like the shelf selection segment, go check out Trevor Williams' channel. He's got that photo bomb that he does once a month, and it is amazing. The whole show is that, just pulling up photos, critiquing them, saying what works, what doesn't work. And those guys are actually photographers, so they know what they're talking about. It's a good show. So if you liked that segment, go check out Trevor's channel for sure. So
totally.
All right. So Eric, how you been doing? It's been a busy few months.
Yeah,
with Figura Obscura and Legions Con and G-Con and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it's been going well.
Mm-hmm.
Legions Con is, it's great. The timing of it and everything is great because it's late in the year. And so we kind of hit this crescendo, toward the end of the year, and everybody's, pumped up and,
mm-hmm.
and just, we come back just on such a high. And then, but that's going right into the holidays. So
mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving shortly after that. And for us at the studio, it's like a lot of tying up loose ends and, planning for the next year. The planning starts earlier than that, but, we really get into some of the heavier, kind of final prep on that. And then the office shuts down for, this year, a little over a week for the holidays. And then, so now we're in the point that's, especially where we're at now is, coming back from the holidays, it takes a little bit to kind of, get the motivation and the machine kind of up and running again after, again, like I said, like it's just everything. It's just between the holidays and Legion's Con and everything. It's just like, it's just like almost like the end of the year. It's just this celebration. And then, then you got to get started again, but it's also the time of year that is really exciting too, because it's, all of the desk has been cleared from last year, all the loose ends tied up, and then it's a wide open new year. So it's kind of this, I'm at the point now where like I'm over the hump and like back in the groove again. So
right.
It's definitely a good place right now. It's exciting,
and with all that craziness that you're talking about coming back from Legion's Con and the holidays and everything, then you guys also dropped this amazing Figura Obscura with the Marley character, and just so good. And I know you've talked a little bit about this on Jeremy's show, but just can you talk to us a little bit about that character and what all went into that and how excited you guys were to drop that this year?
Yeah, for sure. Especially with the holiday release, Krampus was just such an obvious choice when we did that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Father Christmas seemed like the logical follow-up. But then past that, it got a little bit more kind of wide open. Where do we go from here with it? Because I mean, those are two almost like mascots for the season.
Right.
So Marley was pretty early the standout choice for us. And of course, Jeremy's huge into A Christmas Carol. So he was on board immediately. But it was one where for me, at least I could visualize it very clearly, like what why it was going to work well as a figure, at least, we had hoped and thought it would.
Right.
The funny part with that figure though, is, we were into it, we were doing it. And there's a point where I don't know, probably we were painting it. And then at least from a couple people at the office, they're saying do you think people are actually going to want this? Do you think enough people know who Jacob Marley is? And it kind of caught me off guard, because to me, it's Jacob, Christmas Carol, Jacob Marley, it's very well known. It's been a story that's interpreted over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And but then it kind of had us take a pause for a second and think, well, wait a minute, are we just too into this character ourselves? And, maybe taking more of a risk here than we thought. So we were all pretty excited when the response was as positive as it was. And just seeing I'm still seeing amazing photographs and customs coming out of that figure. Actually, I took a screenshot of one the other day where somebody took the alternate head, the secret head, and put it on top of a brute scale body and mixed it with the Marley armor. And it's just I don't know. It's just great to see that people are just taking it, running with it, and enjoying, enjoying it as how it was presented, but also enjoying the parts, as custom fodder. So yeah, it was. But that's a great way to end the year too. Yeah. Is it's every time we do something, an Obscura, it is a little bit of a gamble, just that people will be into the choice. So to get such a solid response was
yeah. Well, I mean, Stephen here says more people know Jacob Marley than Red Death for sure. I would say, you know, I don't know that it matters whether they know the character or not. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I didn't know anything about Krampus when you guys released it. I didn't know anything about Monkey King. I didn't know anything about Red Death. But part of the amazing part of this Figura Obscura line is learning these characters and getting to read the you know, write up from Jeremy and kind of dive into, you know, who these characters are and why they made Figura Obscura line, like why, you know, what made them significant enough to get in there. So I think it's almost even for me cooler when I don't know who the character is, because then it's like, okay, now I get to learn, you know, now I get to figure out who this character is and why it was so important for them to make it.
Yeah, I mean that's a cool take on it, a cool aspect to it, because I you know, I've talked about it many times. For us, like there's certain one of these picks that I know better than others, and some of them have just been because I just think it's a cool character, or I've had a brush with it at some point in life and it kind of caught the imagination.
Yeah.
But in working on it, like going through the research and learning more about it, is really one of the best parts about the Obscura projects. And then, you know, now that because there was, you know, there's so much with the art on the package and the writing on the package, but now that you know, we've been able to include the booklets in there where you can even take a deeper dive into it. I don't know, I love that. Like I love the idea of it it's worked out well where a lot of the stuff we do does this on a number of levels. But you know, sometimes you buy a figure, you bring it home, you open it up, you know, you look at the package, maybe there's a bio, maybe there's not, maybe you look at the cross sell if there's one there. You open it up, and depending on the figure, you might fiddle with it a little bit and then put it on your shelf. You know, we've been fortunate enough that people have gotten so into the customizing that there's a life for the line beyond that. But also the idea of the packaging itself and you know, the longer you can draw that experience out and make it a fuller experience, just the better the overall, you know, purchase and enjoyment of that particular figure is.
Well, yeah, and there's something very unique about the whole Figura Obscura process that's just really fun, because you guys, it's, you know, a lot of stuff like you do the G-Con wave and we get to look at them and look at each character and think about it, and you got a couple months to make your purchase decisions and stuff. And Figura Obscura, it's like there's a tease, it drops, you buy it within like a week or two, you've got it in hand and you're messing with it, and it's the only one that you're getting. So it's not like it can be buried within a wave. Like sometimes you open up a whole wave of the figures and you may not dedicate enough time to a certain figure or another. But with the Figura Obscura, since it's coming by itself, like you can really truly appreciate it. And so I think it's just a super unique experience. I know a lot of people have said, you know, when the Figura Obscura drops in the morning, they just go in and get the all in, and then they find out what they just purchased. Like they don't even, you know, they don't even look at it first before they hit the purchase button, because they just like, I want the all in, and then they go back and go, okay, what did I just buy? You know. Yep, so that's just such a unique thing. Yeah.
I think with the packaging, I'm not an inbox collector myself. A couple things for special. And, you know, the artwork, I keep, you know, some of the packaging from Mythic Legions, because the artwork on the back for display and like to take pictures are great, like the inserts and everything. But yeah, those, like you were saying, expanding the time you spend with it, like the Figura Obscura, like Curtis is saying, the whole thing is like an event. It's a whole experience, you know, the buying it, and then what did I just buy, and then getting it, and then, you know, I just got to show, a friend was over today, I pulled out the Red Death box to show him, and he's like, oh man, how have I not seen this before when I've been over? Like, this is totally up my alley. And he, you know, he doesn't buy toys at all in general, but he was just like drooling over the artwork. It was great. And not to put down other companies' boxes, but like there's very little other toy lines. If I buy something that's like, man, I want to spend time looking at this package or this art, and you know, that I think goes back to whole testament to, you know, Nate and his talent, and then like you guys for getting Nate on board to do the art in the first place. So
Greg might be a little biased, but he
might be a
says,
little biased.
he says Marley has the best packaging ever.
do you think he's set up at work at the car dealership with just a Marley package, just like
Probably, yeah.
standing next to him as people are walking by?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm on this box. You want to buy a car for me?
That's awesome.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if he shared it or not, but George did something cool for everybody that got their images on the packaging. I don't know if that's out there or not yet, but it's at some point that might have to be like a little feature. But he's got something extra that he can display that with. So.
Oh, are you talking about the skateboard deck?
Oh yeah, it's shown. Okay,
yeah, he showed that. Yeah.
So George did that for everybody in the office who got who had their picture on the package. So just did them as a one-off. So it was that was a really cool idea that he had. Because it is.
He does have it at his desk at work.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, and I mean, you know, you mentioned Nate. One of the things I love about this package is that, you know, usually, you know, Mythic, we just have more or less a card back and a card front, and the card front remains constant. And then on some of the boxes, you know, we have more panels than that. But this one, you got the insert, you got the box, and then you got both the front and back of the wraparound. So there's so many opportunities for him to make just gorgeous art on this. And he doesn't have to, a lot of times he doesn't have to pick and choose. Like if there's 3 scenes he wants to do, there's 3 spots on the packaging where he can do those scenes. So, you know, it just allows him to go in so into so much detail on the subject matter. So that's just another big bonus of this line, is that, you know, it's more Nate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know we had solicited some questions from the Cabal. We picked out 10 of them. We thought that, you know, are kind of unique ones that maybe you haven't necessarily answered before.
Okay.
Before we get into it, we said we weren't going to, you know, try to fanboy the whole time, but we do have to just fanboy a little bit real quick, if you don't mind, Eric, if you just bear with us. You know, Jesse, on our show, a lot of times we talk about mental health and, you know, dealing with anxiety and stuff like that. And I know both of us have struggled with issues in the past. And this line has, you know, we hear it a lot where this is more than just a toy line. And it really is. Like for us, it has helped us to cope in ways that we couldn't beforehand. The customizing, the painting, the being creative, the being part of a community is all something that has really helped us to reach out, make friends, be part of this world. And it all stems from, you know, your toy line that you've created and you know, the work that you guys have done. So, you know, just from the bottom of our hearts, wanted to say thank you. We really appreciate it. I mean, Stephen Bisciotti handed me my first figure. He gave it to me for free and got me into this line. And I just thank him immensely because it's changed my life. And I don't want to speak for Jesse. I'll let him talk. But before we got into the question stuff, just wanted to just say thank you. Really, we really, really, truly appreciate it. So,
well, that means a lot to me, for sure. You know, because like we hear so many stories from people, you know, and especially like at Legion's Con, because it's such a welcoming environment, and everybody's just the, you know, the group of people that follow this line and come to the events and stuff. it's just an amazing group. Like the fact that we had 1,000+ people in that hotel drinking, staying up until 4 o'clock in the morning in the hotel lobby, and no issues at all. The hotel was they were thrilled with us. It's just such a great environment, and so we've talked to so many people at the show that have said similar things, and to me that, like I said, that means a tremendous amount to me, because I mean, honestly, the line has done the same thing for me. I as so many of the people that are into this line are creative artists, and people like us tend to not be the most socially out there people. I think back to like being in high school, and like when we had to do an oral presentation, like I would dread it for months. And there would be that day where I was supposed to go, and then somebody went long and I got an extra day out of it. And even to this day, like I still like I hate going to like a school events for my kids, just because of the social part of it is there's an anxiety there that it just I like I just, it's the hugest relief when it's over, but the lead up is brutal. And so, but like I feel very welcome by everybody as well. And so like I think back to myself in high school, and the fact that I can go sit up at that table in front of the room at GCon, is just a testament to how wonderful everybody is that has come to the line. So, like I said, that does hit home for me. And, so, I think, thank you to you and to everybody else, because it's, I don't know, like I feel that environment, I think, as much as everybody else does. So to see people come out that, tell me that they were nervous to come out or to whatever, and then by the end of the weekend, they're making best friends there and stuff. It's just, it's something very, very special. So yeah, I mean, it's an amazing thing.
Yeah, I got into the line in 21, and I just randomly found Thistlethorn on Big Bad Toy Store. I was like, this guy's really cool. I'll get this one, because I was trying to get like a little niche of like green figures from different toy companies. I didn't really know what Mythic Legions were in general at that point. And and my friend Sean, he was in the Cabal, and he's like, oh, someone's selling it, because I got a couple. I had like a handful. I went to that 21 Legions Con. By the time we walked out of that door, I was like, I need to be a part of this. Like I have to get into this world of this community and the creative stuff. So like between the customizing aspect of it and just the toys themselves and the world that you and the studio have created is just like reawakened for me. Like I feel like I've always been creative, always done these things, but like with toys, it's been like, well, I need to get my Luke, Han, and Leia, and these Star Wars figures. I need to get these things, to collect, to fill in the gaps. With Mythic Legions, it just feels like, and Cosmic Legions, but at the time with Mythic Legions, it just like has just blown the door wide open of like imagination is the limit, and just to have fun and play and let the imagination go wild with these things is been huge. So, and there's been a ton of people commenting in the chat, preach facts, truth, same for me kind of stuff. So like it's really cool. that is a question I had, and I know we've got a couple super chats to highlight real quick. But when you guys started doing all this, when you had Mythic Legions or whatever it was in your concept before the first toys came out, like, was there any concept that like this would land so strongly in that regards as beyond just a toy line? Like, is that something you ever thought about?
Nowhere near to the level that it has been. I can't say it enough, and I've said it over and over. Like a huge inspiration for us going in was Matt Dowdy and Glyos, and looking at the way that he interacted with people who bought his product, the community feel, just the accessibility, the kindness, the authenticity, just every part of that world of Glyos was such a big inspiration for us. And I think it's why we clicked so quickly when we met. And that's another space where where it's a similar thing. Like it goes beyond just buying a figure and putting it on your shelf. There's people, they customize with it. They've made friendships through it. There's a so much positivity that goes along with it. And so I think that we had hoped that in an ideal world we could hit some sort of that stride with it. We had a very good feeling about Mythic going in, just because fantasy, like pure fantasy, had been neglected for so long in toys. We had learned so much over the years that we hadn't been able to apply to our own project yet. So there was a lot of things that we felt like we had a good shot that something was going to work well, but I mean, but no way. Like what we had in our head was not even close to what has happened. And I think a good kind of just example of like our mindset with it is, I still remember the first year of Legions Con, where it was just going to be a room at Toy Con. And at that point, it was like, all right, this looks like this could work. And I remember at the time, specifically Joe Vettery was already talking about, I've been in a couple years. This can be I'm picturing this in a hotel where it's its own standalone event and all this stuff. And I remember at the time thinking, this guy's out of his mind. What are people going to come and do for 2 days at a hotel? And for us, like the kind of like the epitome of what a good, like, focused con was PowerCon. And it still is. I mean, it's PowerCon is always one of the great shows for us. And so that's, but we're like, well, that's Masters Universe. That's a toy, like a pop culture icon. Like it was a phenomenon in the 80s. It was not a success. It was a phenomenon. And so, like, if that can get a 2-day show that fills, at the time it was a hotel ballroom, like how are we going to do that? There's no way. And then, I told Jeremy first thing when I walked into that ballroom, it looked like, PowerCon year 5, 6. So go figure.
Yeah, that's crazy. I have a comment here from Laura, says the fans are a reflection of the owners. I couldn't agree more. I mean, just a couple examples would be, like at the end of G-Con, you had a few minutes to kill, just do an impromptu Q&A and just taking questions from the crowd, trying to get everybody that you can in that room at the hotel, bringing people in to allow them to do intern for the day at one of your busiest times of the year, and just being so hospitable to the everybody that comes in there. I saw just this past week, somebody had posted a question in the Cabal about one of the 2000X figures, one of the Skeletor, asking about a part, and Cornboy just answers that. Like, imagine, like, I can't even fathom another toy line where you could ask a question on Facebook and one of the creators of the toy is going to reply back to you on what the thinking was behind it, that
let alone
guys,
from intensive care in the hospital.
Correct. Yeah. So just the amount how open you guys have been with this community, how much you have embraced it, and the creativity, the photography, the customs, the third-party vendors, it's really second to none. And so, yeah, I think Laura makes a good point that, all of this stuff really strives or comes from, your guys's, ability to just be out there with the fans and be us too. Like, as you're creating toys, we can tell that you care about this stuff. Like this is stuff that interests you as well. It's not just, hey, we're making these to make money. Like, this is, you're making stuff you want to see, which is cool.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's the day I'm not interested in doing this is, the day I walk away. I've been, we've been doing this for 30 years this year professionally. And so, there's definitely been ups and downs over the years, although much more up than down. But, there have been times it's, for some clients and companies that we've worked for where, a project comes along that is just, like just a soul sucking project.
Yeah.
And it's, and of course I am well aware that we have been super fortunate. So like to be able to have this attitude is with the grain of salt that like we have been fortunate and just been like the run of stuff that we've been able to work on is incredible. Like just dream project after dream project. But there have been the times where we hit something that just it's just a chore to get through, and it's I think it's because the stuff that you're passionate about, you work around the clock for it, and it feeds something that inside that I don't know, certain projects just don't do it. And so now that we're into where we still do some projects for other people, but I'm solely working on these our in-house projects. And so yeah, like I said, if it gets to the point where I'm burnt out or it would only be to cash a check, that's the time to just call it a day.
Yeah,
I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Well, that's good. That's good.
There's plenty more to do.
We were all sweating for a second there.
Nah.
Well, real quick before we
super chats, Jesse.
Yeah. So first up, Joe Gonzalez, $5 super chat. Just wanted to give a huge thank you to Eric for an amazingly positive impact his toys and his community has had on my life. Truly thankful. And Joe's going to be at Legions Con this year, so we're very happy about that. Chris Ferrone, $10 super chat. Eric has put the fantasy genre on his back over the last 10 years with Mythic Legions. He deserves a spot with all-time pillars like Tolkien, Salvatore, Elmore, etc. Much love and respect. I wholeheartedly second that.
Oh, thank
Chris.
That's high praise.
I'll even throw in Frazetta, even if Curtis disagrees. And Eddie, here's to a wonderful toy community.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. All right. So we'll start getting to some of these questions because we've got a few of them. So we got 10 questions we pulled out. First one comes from Kirby Smith. Says, with 20 years of Four Horsemen, where do you think the studio will be in another 20? Still making toys, or are there other aspirations?
I mean, I hope, hopefully still making toys. You know, that would be, to me, that's always the core of what we're doing. I think that's, it's not, we've never, we've purposely done it backwards. We're not looking at this as a stepping stone to get into making TV shows or movies or something like that. The toys are the core. Now, if we can brand, we've got the video game in the works, very much right on the verge of finishing. So, there's those sorts of aspirations are there, but largely to feed the toys, so we can keep making. That's my biggest fear, is that we can't make new toys anymore, because that's where the joy is sitting down and making the toys and getting those test shots for the first time. But I do think that all of those things like comics, games, animation, any of those other types of entertainment extensions of the properties, only serve to just tell more of the story and really expand on what we're trying to do, but also any of that supports the toys as well. So of course, like, the idea is to continue to grow, but it we always have conversations about it. It needs to be a very controlled growth. We're not looking to just blow out the properties or the company or anything like that for the sake of getting big, because we're concerned, that we would lose something if we did that. So yeah, like I said, as long as we can keep making toys, we're happy.
Gotcha.
Next one.
Yeah, next one's from Steve O'Beg. You want to go ahead, Jesse?
Oh yeah. Steve asked, what was your favorite moment from Legions Con 23? What do you look forward to the most during Mythic Week? Mythic Weekend?
God, narrowing that down.
That's technically a trick 2 question, but
right. Both hard to answer. Man, I don't know that I can pick a favorite moment. Because it really, it was just one after the other. I mean, it's starting. I mean, I guess I don't even know when it actually starts at this point too, because it's really become like just it is like Mythic Week more than Mythic Weekend. But it just started, like, the G-Con part and doing the reveals and everything was just so much fun. Like, it was just up to such a bigger level, and Diego coming out with the chant, and the way Joe kind of pulled the fast one with the bear, and pulling the ogre out and all that stuff. That was so much fun. Staying out late and chatting. I mean that's really, it's not like, I can't put it to like one single moment, but I mean, that is the aspect of it that is my favorite part, is just seeing people face to face and hanging out with friends, and it just the people. I mean, is really that's what it's all about. I mean, that's when Nate and Iz come out, they stay at my house, so it starts like early in the week. And Nate was talking a lot this time about like Mythic Weekend is like becoming like a holiday. So like, what we have to like instill, like what are the the holiday traditions, and it's true. Like it really is, like, you know, because it is like that family reunion aspect, like you know, it gets loud, it's joyful, it's celebratory. So yeah, I guess that's my long-winded,
No, it's a
that's
good
a
answer.
great
non-committal answer.
No, it's good.
Yep.
And even before G-Con, like the intern event is so much fun. And you know, I know this year Big Dub and Kent Poole both got some video of your sculpting session, which, you know, if anybody hasn't been to intern and you haven't seen Eric go through that sculpting session, it's just amazing how within such a short period of time he could just take some suggestions from a few people and he's like, okay, and then just boom, there it is on the screen. And so if you haven't been to intern, check out those videos from Big Dub and from Kent Poole. But yeah, I mean, you know, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but the fact that, you know, a day before G-Con, 2 days before Legions Con, you know, the end of the year, you got all this stuff going on, and you invite all these people into your workplace and take them around on a tour and show them all the different things that you guys do. And everybody there is super nice. Like nobody there seems like, hey, I'm too stressed, or I'm too busy to talk to you, or I don't have time right now, or, you know, let me get back with you or whatever. Like everybody just is super generous with their time and answering questions and everything. It really truly is an amazing experience. And I can't imagine any other toy line doing something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know of anything else like it. But it just seems like a natural, you know, it's a natural thing for us. And it's cool too, because, you know, by the time, like the level of work that's going on leading up to that weekend is so intense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like a marathon for the, you know, the at least like 2 months, 2.5 months leading up to it.
Yeah.
And so it's such a, you know, just like a release, you know, just all the pressure just disappears overnight. And then, you know, and then just to shift the entire atmosphere to bringing people in and you know, it becoming a social event. It just like everybody's just, I don't know, it just puts everybody at ease, and you know, it just becomes such a fun, you know, just it makes it for us. It's just such a fun event too, like just to switch gears like that.
Well, and I think, you know, Jesse and I were talking about this a little bit before you jumped on tonight, that, you know, over the past couple Legions cons, it seems to be becoming more of a family thing too. Like you see, you know, guys bringing their wives, they're bringing their kids, they're going, you know, bringing their families with them to intern to the con itself. And, you know, you're seeing these folks that may not have had an attachment to the toys, but then they come in and they meet the people at the studio. And then they're like, oh, wow, I really like these people and I like this community and I want to be a part of this, you know? And I think that's just so interesting that it's becoming this like very family oriented thing.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, and you've even brought your kids. I know, you know, not this past year, but the year before, we had the chocolate chopping incident in the lobby, and yeah, I mean, so you know, once again, like even folks that aren't attached to the toys, you come in and you see them bringing their families and being part of this. What does that make you think and feel?
I absolutely love it, and you know, because it's been a part of my family. Well, you know, ever since I was dating my now wife, like we've gone, like, you know, basically grown up like in the toy world and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, my kids are just barely older than Mythic Legion, so you know, they've been along for the entire ride. And so, you know, like we all go to back in the day go to Toys R Us together, and all equally excited about going to see what's new in the toy aisles, and it's always been important to us, and I'm so glad that we did it now. Like everything that we do is G to PG rated. But like even when we put like pitches together for shows and stuff like that, like writers want to come in and like turn it into this and that and the other thing, and we've always purposely kept it family friendly, and and for a lot of them, so that our own families could be involved, but so that everybody's family can be involved. And so to see it like this, this year in particular, like it just felt like there were so many spouses there and so many more kids there. And again, and I go back to, talking about how you can have these hundreds of people out.
Joe Vasapolo was too nervous to talk to you.
like that sort of stuff is crazy. But the fact that we got people, like hundreds of people out in the lobby drinking good amounts of alcohol, but the community, like everybody there is so great that you can have, people are out there. Some people have their kids out there, and it's just, I love it. Like it's when you kind of like picture your ideal like work scenario or like community scenario, like that's what it is. It's great.
That's awesome.
All right, next question. We kind of got from two different people. So Will White and Kevin Boots basically came up with the same thing, which was, if licensing wasn't an issue, what are two properties that you'd love to make action figures of? What are two that just stick out to you that, man, I'd love to get my hands on?
I mean, we got to at least do part of it. Like Power Lords was always one of mine, so we got to do that. And this one goes for me and CB both. Fantastic Four. Would love. We were able to like get a little bit into it when we did some work for Toy Biz years ago. But that's one I would love to take a crack at. I mean, those are the two that come to mind. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, again, like, talking about like just the opportunities we've had to work on stuff. I've really been able to I think touch on almost every property that I grew up on in some capacity.
Oh, I mean, that list that you guys put together this past year on all the different toys that you guys have done was ridiculous. That was insane.
It is. And like, we bear like over the years, like Star Wars, obviously growing up in the 70s and 80s is like that's a huge one. Barely have worked on Star Wars at all, but it, like, my all-time favorite Star Wars character is Hammerhead. So out of like when we did some work for Sideshow, like in like the 6 or 7 pieces that I did for them, Hammerhead was one of them. So like even like it seems like even like the times when we worked on stuff, it's just hit like we even like the characters within the properties. We've been so fortunate on to get ones that we really like. So I see I'm seeing some good ones on there. I'm seeing.
We got Micronauts, Chris Star,
Micronauts,
Lord of the Rings,
Shogun Warriors.
Yeah. I mean, the correct answer was actually Battle Beast, but that's all right. We'll let you get by.
I would love that one too. I mean, there's so many good ones out there, and there's so much that you could do with them. So like, even like Battle Beasts came a little after my time. So I never had Battle Beasts, but I can certainly look at Battle Beasts and imagine, what we could do with Battle Beasts. It would be a lot of fun. But yeah,
I think my favorite thing about Battle Beast was not knowing when you bought it what faction they were going to be with. Like you didn't know until you open it up and you hit that little thermal rub. Is like, are they going to go with my wood guys over here? Are they going to go with my fire guys over here? So that was.
And it was always great when it was like the duck or something is with the fire, or stuff that
like
just
a fire shark. It's like, okay, all right, it's a fire shark. Jesse, you got the next one?
Yeah. So Eric Johnson, and this is one I think a lot of folks as customizers can, and even like the writer folk can relate to this question. So do you ever have creative blocks, and how do you deal with them, and or where do you turn for inspiration?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I find that as far as like turning for inspiration, something like it's hard. You can't really force it. Like at least for me, like I have a hard time forcing it, and so like the way I work a lot of times, like some of like the process is goes in cycles for me. So sometimes like I'm going through like where it's more like the actual creating part where it's like the concepting and stuff like that. But then there's also I get heavy like execution part of it. And so sometimes like if the creative part of it gets frustrating, I lean into the execution part because there's usually enough work there where, to do certain parts of sculpting, I don't necessarily have to be creative. It's just doing texture or putting in articulation or doing technical things like that. So that's one of the ways I deal with it. And then, again, it's hard to force it. So it's also then sometimes trying to just let it go and go do something else. And it's especially if you can like go do something out of the ordinary, like go to a landmark somewhere and hike or, go on a day trip somewhere. I find like a lot of times inspiration comes more so when you're not looking for it. And it catches you unexpectedly. So yeah, I mean, that's, I unfortunately, I don't think that there's a surefire answer to that because I'm sure somebody would have packaged it up and sold it by now if there was.
Well, when you are working, you're sculpting, do you need like silence? Do you listen to music or talk shows, or what is it that's going on around you while you're creating?
It varies. Sometimes it's just because I get in certain moods for something, and sometimes I will, sit quietly. Especially like if it's something where that's more like if I'm doing stuff like organizing files or something like that I need more concentration. But generally, like the difference would be like if I'm doing something maybe where I need to get in the zone and think a little bit more, be a little more focused, I'll listen to music. Whereas if it's something where it becomes like a little bit more like on autopilot, that's when I'll watch TV. But it's usually between music or TV or, listening to, to shows, podcasts and YouTube shows and stuff like that.
What about I know the bear, you said you had to do kind of like in multiple sections, like doing the fur, so as you would come by and do some fur today and then you come by and do some fur tomorrow, like what was going on as you're sculpting all that fur on that bear?
So this is like one of the tricks I'll use on myself, because like the month, like I said, the months leading up to Legion's Con were, that's like the heavy duty work mode. And I'd started the bear early in the year and like figured out the engineering on it and kind of like the rough forms. And then it had gone away for the year. And then so the texturing and stuff, I had been dreading is the right word, but I was intimidated by it.
Mm.
And so, but I realized when I got to the point where I was really zeroing in on finishing up Rising Suns that I needed to split it up, where during the day I was working on the figures, and then at night, like later in the evening, that's when I go in and just have like texture sessions. And so, I was forcing myself to stay up later than some nights I necessarily wanted to. And then so like that's when I would save, like if there was something really good on TV, like, or a show I had been waiting to watch, I'd save the good stuff for at night, and then that way, that was like my kind of like treat for staying up late.
Okay.
But that's, and it also doing something like that is like monotonous, and again, it's still there's a satisfaction to it, but it requires a different type of mindset, just because it is kind of like a little more autopilot. So then that's great to watch, to have a show on where I can pay attention to the details of the show and without hurting what I'm doing on the computer.
Gotcha.
In tandem to that, just because I'm curious, what kind of music do you listen to when you listen to music? Like, is it like bands or soundtracks or?
Mostly bands. Occasionally some soundtrack stuff. I do listen to the Tron Legacy soundtrack quite often. I love that.
Oh yeah.
It's to me, when I first saw that movie, like that soundtrack to me was just like the perfect encapsulation of the 80s, and like video game culture, and just I don't know, I just love that. But as far as but usually like bands, I listen, like where like I really got into music was in like the 80s alternative, like before alternative was became like a radio station. Like in the 90s, it was the stuff that was actually like you could only see like on MTV, like on 120 Minutes or like later Alternative Nation. So that's kind of like where the core of my music is. So like a lot of like goth stuff and like new wave and things like that. And then I don't know, other stuff too, but that's kind of like where like my core like base is.
Cool.
Okay.
We do have a question that came up in the chat here that I wanted to bring up. Zombie 13 says, a few years ago, you guys made a sword horseman based on his mock-up design, and he's eternally grateful. But how about a matching shield horseman, like the new shields? So
that's actually a really good idea.
I like that.
That's cool.
One of those logo shields. That'd be cool.
Damn, I might have to.
There you go. Take that one back with you.
Yeah.
We do have this one from Nate Strong. Outside of work, what do you enjoy doing? What are your other interests, hobbies besides toys?
So, I mean, like probably the biggest thing that my family and I are into is like, we love amusement parks. Like at least 3 of us out of the 4 are big coaster riders. We're all Disney nuts. So like anything range. I mean, that's obviously a big trip, but we love just going to like the local Six Flags or, you know, water parks and stuff like that. Like we're big into that. And I mean, that's just kind of like our family,
Mhm.
you know, our big family thing. But, you know, other than that, like, love, like during the summer, like we're all big swimmers. Love going down to the shore whenever we get the chance. You know, just I like just going on like road trips and things like that. Like we, you know, our families around the country, so we'll drive, you know, go on road trips. Yeah, just hanging out with friends and stuff like that. Definitely not getting any you know, cool answers like skydiving or, you know, competitive bike racing or anything like that. Um, but yeah, I mean that's it, just, I mean, really for us, it's just like whatever we can do, like as a family, and
Mhm.
you know, I guess kind of break out of the daily grind.
Okay. Jesse, you want to get the next one?
Sorry, I was muted. Which family member, if I can ask, is not a fan of the coasters?
Was not a fan of what?
The roller coaster.
The roller coasters?
No, Nolan, my oldest.
Okay.
And I mean, like it depends on where we go. Like at Disney, every ride pretty much is like okay there. But like if we go to like Six Flags, where, you know, in New Jersey here we have Six Flags Great Adventure, and like they have this coaster there, this King Ka. That's I don't know if it still is, but at least up until recently is like the fastest and tallest coaster on Earth. They're like, you know, because like the parks like Six Flags and stuff, like it's all about like, you know, getting the next world record type of a thing. And so it's like an arms race of coasters. And so when we go to that park, it's a different story. That's not Nolan's scene there so much. But my younger one, Brandon, like he'll ride anything. So the faster, the crazier, the better. And it gotten to the point where, like, I don't know, before kids, and like when the kids were younger, like my wife and I would, you know, we loved coasters and would do all this stuff when we were younger. And I was like, you know, I was done with it, like mid 40s, like that. It's like, this is, you know, my body's too old for this. And then all of a sudden Brandon starts riding like these like giga coasters and all this stuff. And then it's like, all right, I'll get on with you. And then all of a sudden, like, you know, here we are back into it again. Like, sometimes like, you know, definitely hitting the Advil when you get back. The body's not as flexible as it used to be.
Gotcha.
Oh, that's funny. All right, up next, where to go? Brian C, aka CB Make, one of my table partners at the show, at cons, interviews, etc. What is a question you wish more people would ask? And we can loop back to that if that's something you need to think about. That's kind of a, but yeah, what's a question you'd wish more people would ask?
I'm happy with the questions that people ask. I mean, to me, I just like, I love Q&A. You know, like when we do, you know, opened up GCon to Q&A.
That was awesome.
You know, I don't care if it's a question that I've been asked 100 times or if it's a question I've never heard before. Like I love the Q&A because you don't know what's going to come up next, and so sometimes it's something you absolutely have the answers for. Sometimes it's something that makes you think for a second. So to me, it's fun. Like even, you know, like when we go to do panels at like PowerCon and stuff like that, and we had to put a presentation together, I was always very happy to, you know, if we had an hour to do at most 30 minutes of presentation and then let everybody ask the questions afterward, because I like the dialogue more than just like standing up there with like a dry presentation. Because if you're going to present, then people are going to have questions and want to know more. So I don't know. I enjoy that engagement part of it. So I've never been like, I never feel like, like, oh, just if I hear this question one more time or anything like that. And usually if it's a similar question, somebody's asking it in a different way, or kind of like getting a little bit of a different, wanting like a slightly different perspective on things. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Next one is from Patrick Boyle. He says, and I'm looking at the map of Mythos right across from me. I got it on my wall. He says, map of Mythos has many lakes and rivers. Do they have names? Will they be revealed in future bios or books? So is that something you guys have talked about?
Yes. So that's one of the things that is going to be really cool about the game, is that it's, they in the game, you see the same map, Nate's artwork, but you're actually, it's almost now like you zoom in on the map and you're going to go to these places in the map, and like, everything has a name, everything's a different environment. And so you're going to go in and start seeing more of what these specifics are within the land. And so for us, like the design of it and the way that we went in and initially presented it, it purposely left a lot open to the imagination and just for further development. So, there's certain things in there that don't have a name yet, but there are many things that do have a name that haven't been revealed yet as well. And what I like about that, and part of the reason for that, is with the game designers, it's allowed them the freedom to go in and explore the world and bring something new to the lore. And so, it allows a flexibility for collaborations, for future projects, anything like that. But there's definitely, more than has been presented so far.
Cool. So,
Very cool.
So we could expect more of that in the game. That's good to know. I didn't know that was going to be stuff that, as far as the land and different areas that we were going to be able to explore more. So that's cool. Do have a super chat here from Rob Zamora. So does that mean aquatic characters? And if you can't answer that, understood. But it is a super chat, so we got to bring it up.
And just say this, we always say we haven't even scratched the surface of what we intend to bring out to the world from Mythos. There's a lot of things that we've purposely stayed away from up to this point, for specific reasons. But again, there's a lot that we want to do and plan to do that we just haven't seen yet. So I would say the chances are very, very strong on that one.
Okay.
And I have a follow-up question, if I may.
Okay.
And obviously, if you can't answer it, you can't answer it. But I love maps. So that question was like, ooh, I hadn't thought about that. That was good. And obviously, I know you can't give any details or reveal any specifics, but and if you've answered this before, I apologize. I don't know if I've heard it. I'm assuming with the way the map is laid out, there's more to this world that has not been revealed. There's more. Is there more? Can you at least say yay or nay to that, or pass? It's okay. I don't know. Is Mythos the world, or is Mythos the continent?
It kind of both, but okay. I mean, imagine it's on a planet. There's at least another side to it. So yes, there is more to the map than we've currently shown.
Okay. I did want to pull up this question real quick from Adam Power. What inspires 4-H naming conventions? There's a lot of interesting spellings and names in there. I know I was watching Robo's weekly recap this past week, and he doesn't normally have 4-H stuff on there, but he did. He had the G-Con wave, the Rising Suns wave, and he was trying to make it through the names. And he's like, I don't know what they're thinking with some of these. So can you explain a little bit behind what goes into some of these names that you guys come up with?
I mean, it ranges greatly, and it's all over the place. Sometimes it's as simple as just while the figure's being worked on, that it just like pops, pops into my head and presents itself as that's what the character is. Certain characters, I can say I've spent hours and hours, possibly days, on researching and trying to come up with names. And Mythic and Cosmic are slight, they have different things going on with each one of those as far as just the approach. But I mean, one of the biggest things that we have to deal with the names is I always want a name that's not used. And sometimes it's a combination of a first name and a last name that makes it unique. And sometimes it's a spelling. And so that's where a lot of the double consonants and double vowels come from, just to make it so that, it's somewhat proprietary to the line. Like I remember one of the ones with Kragnar. Like I wanted his name to, I don't even know how to explain it, but have like a certain sound, a certain feel to it that matched the character. But I wanted a name that could be broken down to a single syllable nickname. And that's all. And that was, I was thinking a lot with Cosmic about, just the conversational aspect of these names, and like the fact that like Ziri's full name is Zirian, but most people would probably call her Ziri. It's just more casual. And so with Kragnar, in conversation, he would be called Crag a lot. And so I was looking for like a single syllable name that I couldn't find, that there wasn't something out there that was heavily in use or in use at all or whatever. And so I don't know how many versions of that name, of different names I went through for him. And it just, every single time I looked something up or had an idea, then, I'd get home and look it up, and it's like, oh, it's like a Warcraft character, or it's a, a Star Wars deep cut name or whatever. So that's part of it. It's just, it's
trying to be unique kind of thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's not to trip up Travis Bowles so that he can't pronounce them.
No.
Okay.
Just a bonus side effect.
Like, it's a lot of times to me that like I look at them and they're like, I don't know, that seems perfectly readable to me. Yeah. I don't see what the problem is. But then, there's been on a couple of characters where Jeremy's come up with the name for it, and then I'm all of a sudden in everybody else's shoes, and I'm like, what? I didn't say that. So then
I've seen some on the specials I've seen some on the specials where like Jeremy will say, is it pronounced? And he'll say something and you'll just go, yeah, sure. Yeah, but that works.
No, I do like that real world aspect too, is that just people say things differently.
Yeah.
Like people here say Thanos different than people in the UK or Australia. Like there's like just a different way you punctuate that. Some of those vowels,
right? Yeah. So, like Anna, that kind of thing. So,
yeah, gotcha.
Interesting. Very cool.
You got the next one,
Which one is that? Yeah, where was that? Was the map one?
I think we're on Christopher. Yep.
Christopher McCall. Now we did kind of tweak a little of these because some of them are a little long to put on the banners like this. But he had asked about with doing was it
Canox Ball. Yep.
Being a drawing you had from when you were a kid for Cosmic, are there any drawings from your childhood that would make their way into Mythos that maybe haven't already?
There's some options that can make it in. That specific group of characters that Canox was from was like at a point where I was, like as a kid actually trying to like draw an action figure line out, where, as I think on the Mythic end of things, there's things like recurring themes and things that I would sketch and go back to that, I think probably, have at least had influence already within the line. And there's more for sure. Like even I'm thinking of like Nubnik, kind of goes back to a goblin like style that I had been drawing for a long time, like since being a kid. And it like, drawn it over the years, slightly different ways, but, it's just kind of, that was the way, like I think even when I was sculpting that, like because all the things, like they have working titles, as they're in ZBrush, and that one, I think it was just referred to as classic goblin, because to me, like that was like the classic goblin. But there's always something to pull from the past as far as old sketches, old sketchbooks, things like that.
I got a question myself, and nothing related to what we talk about, but you've talked before about kind of the switch from modeling the prototypes in clay versus doing it digitally. Have you, like in the recent year or 2 years, have you gone back and done anything in clay? And is there any sort of benefit to that process versus digitally that you appreciate still?
I haven't gone back to it. At the most, I think with the kids, one time they were sitting around the table using Super Sculpey, and I sat down and messed around with it a little bit and got very quickly frustrated with it. I don't enjoy it as much. I love the quickness and control of ZBrush. As far as whether or not there's advantages to traditional, I think there are. I mean, I certainly, and I still have an appreciation for it. Like sometimes, like I'll see somebody post up an image of a wax piece, or roughing out a clay piece, and when I worked on it, I loved doing it. It's just like, for me, this is the next evolution of the same thing. It's just a different tool, but the process, like mentally, is the same. But I mean, the greatest advantage to me is that if you're sculpting something in hand, like you're immediately, there's a sense of immediacy of being able to visualize it in all the dimensions and see how it feels in hand, the size. If you're trying to say, I don't know, say make sure that a hand fits an accessory. Well, if you have it in clay, you can take the accessory and push it through the hand, and for sure it fits it. Whereas I do the same thing digitally, but things pop up. The next day, 2 days later, when the print comes out, you may see something that you just missed. So there are certainly advantages to it. There's advantages and disadvantages to both. For me, just at this point in life, just the advantages of the digital outweigh any disadvantages.
Yeah, I imagine the library of parts helps out quite a bit as well.
Absolutely,
just having something to go off of. Sig asks, how did you transition from clay to digital? Was it a very tough transition for you? Is it something you kind of eased your way into, or You just jump in feet first, or what? How did that go?
It was painful. It was tough. I'd been doing traditional for so long that it was just hard to break out of it, for one. I didn't find the digital sculpting to be very intuitive initially. And it was those factors combined with the reality that, like, I still, like, while I was learning it, I still had to meet deadlines and continue workflow. So it was something that was being done in the margins while I was sculpting traditionally, 10 hours a day. So it was a really long, frustrating process for me. I think there's more luckily, like, there were a lot of resources out there at the time, so I am eternally grateful that there were. I think there's much more now than there were then, as far as like ZBrush tutorials, online classes. Like, at the time, nobody talked about articulation and how to engineer articulation and stuff like that. So I had to, like, piece different tutorials and ways that people were, like, keying statues and take elements of that and put it into, if I do that, like, with a disc in a shoulder, I can make a disc, an articulation point. But yeah, it was for me, it was definitely hard and frustrating, and it took a while. But then as soon as, like, I picked it up and kind of got rolling with it, then I just wished I would have started like a decade earlier. Just for one, just because I would be 10 years more experienced with it, but also in that 10 years, I created 10 years worth of traditional assets as opposed to digital assets. At the time it was Masters and Universe Classics. Like, that entire run until, like, some of the very last things with Super 7 was all traditional. But if we would have started digitally, like, the things that we could have done with that line, I think we could have done some very cool things that we couldn't do due to, like, the time constraints of digital. And it just would have been it would have been easier to do as well. So yeah, but yeah, for me, it was tough. I've seen other people do it much quicker, much more smoothly. But yeah, it was hard for me.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, though, trying to do it while still meeting deadlines and everything else it's like trying to have a full-time job and, get your degree or something, it's just not easy. So
it sounds like, trying to relearn how to, read while you're, a professional writer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So next question is from Dusty Standiford. It says, out of all the artwork you've done since childhood, what's one piece or pieces that you're most proud of? And then a secondary question is there anything that you've gotten rid of, whether you lost it or you sold it or whatever, that you'd wish that you could have back?
Boy, those are big questions.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can answer that first one on the spot.
Okay.
That's man.
Is there something that sticks out in your head initially that you're like, man, that was a lot of work and I was proud to get it done, or anything like that?
There were some big, we've had some big projects along the way, like Castle Grayskull for Classics was one, and that was a cool one because it was such a group project. Like, it was. I did a lot of work on it, but so did a lot of other people. So that was like a cool team effort, and I think the result was a really great piece out of that one. Yeah, I don't know. That's one pops into my head. Just because it's one of the biggest things, maybe the biggest thing that we've done. It really like it is tough though, because it's like I get so excited about like what I'm working on when I'm working on it, and you know, it's thrilling to see it happen in plastic every time. But then as soon as like it comes out, I'm excited about what I'm working on.
Right. It's already. What's next.
Yeah. So yeah, some of these I should like sit around and like go through my catalog of stuff that we've worked on and like prepare answers.
Yeah.
As far as the second half of that, as far as something that
something you've lost, sold that you wish you could have back, you know, a piece of artwork or a figure or anything like that.
I don't think so. I don't think there is, just because I mean that is the beauty of working on mass produced product, is that you don't have to give up your piece. You know, I remember, you know, like when I was younger, like in high school and stuff, sold, you know, a few pieces of art, and it's, you know, it can be painful to put all that work in and then, you know, get rid of it. And so and maybe that's something that appeals to me about it, is that, you know, you get to share it, but you also get to keep it as well. So yeah, I can't really. I'm also pretty good about keeping everything I've worked on. I have a basement that can attest to that. Yeah, but I mean, those are good questions, though. I just don't have great answers.
All right. Well, we only have one more from the ones that we solicited from the Cabal. So
yeah, I'm gonna pull up Steph's here because I don't want to miss it. Sincere thanks to Eric for creating the most robust and epochal female characters to be developed into a toy line. What female archetypes throughout history were you naturally drawn to growing up?
Wow.
I thought that would be an easy one, so yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think for, you know, if we're putting it like in a toy perspective, I remember the first time seeing the Tila figure from Masters of the Universe, and it, like, she was not like a dainty little figure. Like, she had, like, you know, she was a solid figure. She had a solid physique. She had armor. She had weapons. And I think just like from a design standpoint of like the female character, I felt like she was approached with the same level of seriousness as the rest of the characters. Like, there was a respectfulness in the design that I don't know, like where it's clearly a like, I'm trying to think of the word for it. I'm drawing a blank on a word here. I'll deal with that. But it clearly paid attention to the fact that she was a female character, but at the same time, again, treated her like with the respect and the serious nature that the rest of the characters had. Because I mean, Masters kind of became more like comical later on with the cartoon and stuff, but I never saw it that way early on. And I think like that sort of, like, everybody in that line was badass, Tila included. And I think that it's that, like, that balance that was there that stuck with me, because like I remember going through, and I mean, even if you think about like certain characters, like in pop culture and stuff like that, like Princess Leia was such a great character in Star Wars for many of those same reasons. But you know, and there weren't as many to choose from back then, for sure. You know, like in the world of like action characters and stuff like that. So when like a good one like that came across, you certainly would pay attention. But I don't know, I'm kind of funneling all this into like from a designing figure standpoint more than just like a general thing. But so like those were like a couple of the characters that like I remember growing up on that were like like successful versions of what could be done with a female character like in a toy line. Because a lot of times they just wouldn't even include a female character, or you know, there was always this popular notion that female figures didn't sell, blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. Then the 90s hit, and that was really, you know, I started in the industry in 94. And so obviously, you know, Todd was very willing to put female characters in the line that like the, you know, the world had never seen before, with characters like Angela, She-Spawn and stuff like that. But I remember also at the same time, though, there was this glut of like these awful figures. I think one was called Helena. That were all these like hypersexualized figures that were like in like Fredericks of Hollywood, like superhero outfits and stuff like that. And I feel like, you know, like it took a while to get over that and get back to like treating the female characters as characters as opposed to like, I don't know, like novelty. So I don't know. Like, I feel like having some of those strong characters, like in my childhood, really is kind of like set the stage for like the way that I approach it going into, you know, to our lines, like, you know, going back to even like Seventh Kingdom and stuff like that. So, but with Mythic Legions, it's been great though, because, you know, even now, like a lot of companies have this idea that the female figures don't sell, or you have to be careful with the female figures. And, you know, people who are into Mythic and Cosmic have proven time and again that, you know, the female characters can be the top sellers in the waves, which we've had a run on that lately. Like I'm pretty sure Ziri was the top selling figure in Cosmic 1. I think Impoxis Thrace might have been. And Callian, I think, was in Cosmic 3. So we've had some, I don't know, like I feel fortunate that we're able to actually explore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that Jesse and I disagree on, but we both walked out of that G-Con wave with Nieve being our favorite character. And I know you spent a billion years sculpting a bear and all the details that went into that. And you know, the scapular too looks good, and that all those figures look amazing. But that Nieve is just amazing. And you know, both of us walked out of there going, that's the coolest figure in this wave.
So, I know you were so focused doing the presentation. I saw the clip of the name come up like before you started talking about it on the slide. It was on the screen for like a second. I was like, what is that? I typed in NEVE in my phone. It's like Snow. I'm like, oh, I bet this is going to be like a female character. And then she came out, or she got showed. I don't know if you caught it, but I made this like audible like whoop sound and like started to jump out of my chair because I saw I was like, oh, that's a 1.0. And when you said she was like a frost elf and like Jeremy read the whole story and everything, I was like, this might beat Thistlethorn as my favorite character.
That's what, like, I was thrilled that she was as popular as she was, because like, you know, it's almost, you know, you got a pretty good feeling that people are going to be happy about a Scapula or an Atlas or, you know, character like that. But I've been excited about getting a 1.0 female figure like build into the line for a long time. So like when we did Vorga, like I was super pumped to get that character in, and then that, you know, people accepted that larger build and liked it. And then so to be able to push it further with Nieve and like get that build into Mythic, but also like expand upon it and, you know, bring even more parts to the table. Like I couldn't be happier about that, because I think it's, I don't know, it's not as typical a build that you would see on a female character in the figure world. And I don't know, I just think the characters look cool with that build. It's more variety just on the shelf, because that was when I first started developing that body, like well before I knew what the specific looks for Vorga and Ziri were going to be. I knew like in the hero group, I wanted to have a pair of female characters, like one large and one small. So like I had their builds, like that was in mind before like even the looks of those characters were like, you know, really specified. So yeah, like it, like, I don't know, like it's just cool when something like that, like, you know, it's been floating around, you know, on the page and in the mind for so long. And then, you know, to get it out there and have people embrace it the way that they have has been really cool.
Yeah. And I mean, as cool as the sculpt is and the 1.0 build and everything, the paint job, man, Sherry just killed that thing on the paint job. I love the hair, I mean, it's just, yeah, that thing is amazing. So
yeah, that's like a, you know, that a paint job like that color palette and everything needs to be like really finely balanced, because there's a lot of subtlety there. And yeah, she just like hit it on every level with that one.
Yeah. We had one more question. Jesse, you want to get that or you want me to?
I can go.
Okay.
From the guys on Legion's cast, so between Emil, Len, and Steven, they were talking about the Order of Aetheron last week or this week, whenever that was. Time is irrelevant.
This past Thursday. Yeah.
So 3 days ago. There are several paladins listed in the Order of Aetheron. What does paladin mean? They were not sure like how to take the word paladin, you know, in mythos, in Mythic Legions. So is that something you can give a little better of a definition to?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I mean, which kind of puts all of the Order of Aetheron in this category, like a holy knight, basically.
Okay.
That, and you know, yeah, I mean, it almost is like an entire faction of paladins, and you know, to a certain level. I mean, there's certainly things that we've assigned characters, you know, some different roles than that, but that's, yeah, almost like kind of like the baseline categorization for, you know, an Aetheron knight.
Gotcha. I think the point that they were kind of debating was in some lore and some, you know, different storytelling and stuff, some paladins have like magical abilities along with being kind of a knight, and they didn't know within mythos if that's a common thing to the paladins or if it's really just their holy knight. So as far as what you're saying, like no hidden magical powers that we don't know of.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Gideon has his relic weapon, but past that, like that would be something where, similar to in some of the other factions, where like if we have a magic user in the fold, like we'll specifically call that out, as almost like somewhat of an anomaly in the structure, the hierarchy.
Gotcha.
But yeah, in this case, it's more just the fact that they're, like more of a religious order than, like a military, I guess.
Yeah, Joe makes a good point here. He says we consider Sir Andrew a paladin because he does have some stuff in his bio that mentions kind of magic abilities. So
yeah, I mean, well, it's just, although I guess it's that to be a paladin in Mythos doesn't necessarily mean that you have magical powers.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean that being a paladin in Mythos means
doesn't.
That you can't
Yeah,
have magical
gotcha.
powers. Yeah.
Well, and since we were talking about strong females, we're talking about Order of Aetheron, I got to throw out one little pitch to you real quick. Sorry. But I love the Templars. I know there's some people out there don't like the Templars because it's too much real world, whatever, but clearly they sell because you guys have done a billion of them. And a lot of builders. But we've only got the one female Templar. And it's a named character. It's a little harder to get. I think it's time for a Legion Builder female Templar. I think you'll sell a crap ton of them. So just wanted to throw that out there. So you don't no commitments, but I'm saying good idea. So
I think that's a good call. It's interesting with the way that the line works, and we saw it not 2 years ago, but like 2 G-Cons ago or 2 Legions cons ago, where we hadn't like really refreshed skeletons in a long time, and then all of a sudden you realize we need to get some skeletons out there, and of course it made a lot of sense there. Or the same, this year it was the dwarves, and a lot of times nice to see CB on here.
Convoy joining in.
Hey CB,
what's up, CB?
how's it going, Eric?
That makes me very happy to see him doing something like watching this rather than staring at the ceiling of a hospital room.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Although I did hear they're bringing him like homemade cookies and donuts and stuff. So it sounds like the nurses are treating him well. So awesome.
But yeah, so that's what, like, that's what a lot of times it is. We just realize, oh man, we haven't done a female Templar in a long time. We need to get on that. So that's sometimes the way it's a little reminder is not a bad thing.
There you go. And I'm not even saying we need a female Dark Templar and a Relic Guard and a just one of any of them. So awesome. Well, I think we've hit all the questions that we gathered.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've hit a lot of the ones in the chat. We did have some more starred comments. Jesse, were there any more in there that you wanted to get to before we close out?
This one's kind of interesting. They're all, and maybe, I don't know, maybe you won't be able to answer this one, but we'll see. We'll give it a shot. How do you decide the surprise part in the Figura Obscuras?
We definitely don't have a library to choose from. It's specific to each character.
Okay.
Sometimes we kind of have an idea ahead of times. Other times it's, we work, the figures being worked on, and you realize, it'd be cool to do this. and I guess like the kind of the, at least when we can do it, like if it's something that can work on that specific figure, then that's a big bonus. Like with Father Christmas, I mean, the Night Head didn't really fit with him, but he also has a bag of gifts that he brings to people, so it was a little different. But whereas with Marley, we were able to do something that worked well on its own. You can make other characters with it, and also looks good on the figure.
Yeah, those knights with those Night Heads were pretty popular. I know there was a lot of people trying to trade for those and get those out there. And then, obviously there was the one with Marley this time was it was kept secret for a pretty good time until it finally got out there. But just another amazing one. So I know it's hard with the whole, how long do you keep it a secret? How long till people can share these toys that they're excited for and things like that? But personally, I really like the surprises. I think it's just a nice little fun thing that you guys do. So yeah, I hope they don't stop. Even though I know they can be frustrating for some people in terms of knowing when the timeline is that they can start sharing it. So
yeah, it's a tough, like try to find the balance, like keeping things exciting, but not being too much stress on people. But you got to have a little bit of consistency, but a little bit of excitement in there as well. So yeah, it's I mean, hopefully enough people are enjoying the surprise that it makes sense to keep going.
Yeah, way. Definitely fun. Rob Zamora, $2 super chat. How about just a female wave? So
it's I don't know, maybe. I mean, generally, like I think for like us, like going back even to like the McFarlane days, part of like what, and this goes back to like Masters of the Universe, like you look at that wave one of Masters, you had your main hero guy, you had a female warrior, you had an armored, weapons master, you had a skeleton guy, you had a beast guy, you had a fish guy. So like it's like that cool variety, like all
diversity,
in one wave. And that's what like I like to mix things up, like in from all aspects. It's shape, size, colors, armor types, like all different textures, everything like that. And I mean that would generally be my reason to not do an all female wave, is because I don't know that we have the variety of parts to create as interesting a wave. Whereas if I don't know, like if you could throw, I don't know, take the brute scale body and throw make that into like a giant orc or something like that. Like it just,
nice.
You put those figures on the shelf and just all of a sudden it's a more interesting group.
Right.
Because there is that balance of being able to use what we have available. But, again, like now we've added that 1.0 female body into the line. So like all of a sudden, like there is more that we could do with, even if you look at Rising Suns, you got the female dwarf, female shadow elf, and female frost elf in it. So, the more parts that we build up, the closer we can get to something like that.
I really like that the dwarf pack, what you guys did, because obviously you added a lot of new dwarf parts that have been kind of we've been kind of wanting for a while, new shins and gauntlets and things like that, torso pieces. But on top of that, just the ability to mix and match within that set, for the female and the male, it just gave a lot of different variety for that. So I think that is something that was really cool. Is that something you anticipate maybe doing more of? Is kind of these 2-packs with some mix and match stuff? Is that something you think went well?
Yeah, it did. Like, because for the longest time, we had done, our builder packs all the way back to wave 1, like the Barbarian builder.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, we were throwing more and more parts into these things to where a lot of people just said, why didn't you just make it a 2-pack? I would have gladly paid the, whatever the difference was between a 2-pack price and what the builder price was.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically with the dwarves, we wanted to do a male and a female. So then it made a lot of sense to take that feedback and, combine it with our desire to do the 2 different figures. And then we were like, we'll try it out and see what the response is. And it was great. So yeah, I mean, I certainly think that's something we would go back to again. We'll probably go back to the builder as well. Like if it makes, if it makes sense to just do a builder in some instances, yeah, we'll do that. But since the 2-pack is now a viable option and people like it, sure thing. Yeah, let's do another.
Well, awesome. Another thing that people have been talking about this past year is the cosmic pieces that you guys did, the environmental pieces. And Brent here is asking, do you enjoy making these? And then my follow-up question would be, is that something that we think we could see more of, not only in Cosmic, but in Mythic, some more kind of environmental edition pieces for our collections?
I enjoy it probably more than I should. It's, I mean, because you can also see like with the clock, with Red Death, there's other stuff that hasn't been shown yet, that like it feels indulgent to be doing it. But the response has been great. So it's like, I think everybody around the shop is enjoying like that addition as well. So yeah, I mean, definitely want to get into Mythic, have some solid ideas of what we'd like to get in there. Sales were, on the container pack and Cosmic were solid enough to where it, it justifies moving forward with some of those types of things. It's just a matter of figuring out the right time to drop it in. And, it's the tough part about it is if it's I don't know, if it's going to be a $30 or $40 item, it's like, it's the same as adding a figure to the wave. There's cost involved with it and everything like that. So we just need to make sure that it's, people always used to say, I remember used to say this with Masters Universe, that it's taking the place of another figure or something like that. We don't want to make sure that it enhances things and doesn't feel like it's like it's taken away from something else.
Gotcha. Well, we got one more question for you. This should be a pretty easy one. Yes or no? From Maverick. Did Eric ever get the complete Rankin Bass Christmas collection from Amazon?
I did.
There you go.
There you go,
yeah,
Maverick.
Yeah, we had well, in fact, we've talked about Rankin Bass a couple of times, and he was telling me about that at Legion's Con. So that was a good tip, because that's one, like, they used to play them on ABC Family. Like, you could pretty much watch the full run of Rankin Bass, like, I think whatever they did, like the 25 days of Christmas, and they're a lot harder to find now. So having them all in one spot is that's a nice little treasure.
Very nice. Well, Eric, we really have enjoyed having you on. It's been a blast. Appreciate all the comments from the chat as well as people in the Cabal. We tried to get to as many as we could. If we missed one of yours, sorry. The chat was popping. So, but Eric, we really appreciate your time and just going through and just, being a toy manufacturer that is willing to give up your time on a Sunday night to spend time with the fans and answer these kind of questions and just give us some insight behind, what goes on at your guys' studio. So thank you so much.
Of course. It's my pleasure. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've been really looking forward to this chat. And, I'm lucky enough to live close enough to New Jersey that I get to see you a couple times during the year. So, I look forward to. I'm assuming you'll be at ZoloCon coming up at the end of February.
Oh yeah. Okay. Zolo's. That's one of our anchors. That is always such a fun show. That's what a lot of these shows are like. Kind of like little. Like mobile Legions Con events.
Yeah.
So that's a fun one. A lot of people. A lot of the familiar faces and friends show up to that one, and it's for us it's nice too because it's close, so it's a driving distance for everybody. So it's just a unique venue, great atmosphere there. Yeah, Zolo's a great show.
Yeah,
I know.
I know it's a trek for you, Curtis, but
yeah, Mesquite Con, they're calling Legions Con of the Midwest. So everything's like a mini Legions Con now. So yeah.
And you're getting to some of the other more distant shows this year, right? Are you personally getting to any of the further out ones?
Let's see. I'm trying to think of the ones that I know. I'm doing that one. I'll be at the toy cons, like the local ones. Legions Con, I believe IshCon.
IshCon, okay.
I might do. I think I'm looking at doing Designer Con in the fall.
Okay.
We kind of like spread it out. Like some people go to more shows than others. And as much as I enjoy doing the shows, the biggest problem for me is that if I'm doing the shows, I'm not sculpting. So
get those scales on that dragon.
That's right. Yeah. So I have to kind of like pace myself with that stuff because there's a lot of good ones coming up this year. So I'm trying to like spread them out throughout the year and at least get a nice variety in there.
Yeah, Colin says always a blast when Cabal members can meet up at a con. Looking forward to a couple more this year. It is a nice way if you can get to any of them. Whether you're on the East Coast, Midwest, whatever. If you can make it to any of those shows that the Horsemen are going to be at, it is a nice way to kind of bridge that gap from Legions Con to Legions Con and just kind of, because we talk about like the family reunion atmosphere, where everybody's kind of hanging out. And so getting even a small portion of that really helps to make it feel like it's not a full 12 months to the next Legions Con. So yeah, for sure. True. Beautiful. Well, that's it. We're gonna close out the show. We're gonna put you in the back and close it out. If you've got to go, that's fine. If not, hang out in the back room and we'll be right back with you. Okay.
Nice.
All right. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you very much, Eric.
All right. Another show in the books.
There it is.
Yeah.
Season 3, episode 3. 2 of the Horsemen down, 1 to go.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not rushing. This is great. It was a great show. A lot of really good conversation. Thank you so much to everybody that came out, whether you were on YouTube with us or in Facebook land. Really appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks to Eric. Love you, CB. Get better. Everybody keep CB in your thoughts and prayers. And yeah, for sure. This was good, though. This was fun.
Yes. And next week, we've got one of Curtis's picks from a couple weeks ago from Toysology, talking about posing and action figures. And actually, we've got Stephen Bisciotti coming along as well, because Toysology Mohammed can't stay the entire episode. So we'll have dual guests going next weekend. So make sure to come back next Sunday at 8 p.m. right here on Shooting the Shelf.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do our normal shelf selections at the beginning, but then after that, it is going to be all about posing. So if you've always wanted to be a better poser, you want to be able to get your figures on your shelf looking all super dynamic and cool and not just standing static, tune in next week, because we're going to have a couple experts share some secrets on how to get your figures in some awesome poses. We're going to have a pose off, folks. All right.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Hope you have a great weekend, whatever it is, whatever time it is, wherever you are, whatever you're doing.
And until next time.
Yeah.